Here at NRA News Studios with Phil Schreier, Senior Curator of the National Firearms Museum, for another installment of the Curator's Corner. Phil, you brought something very interesting to show us this week, a Volcanic lever action pistol. What in the world is that?
It is an innovation in firearms development technology. There is so much history wrapped up in this little handgun. It literally takes volumes to tell the whole story.
Wow, let's get started.
Well, first off, it's a repeating handgun. Colt became world famous for his patent in 1836 of a revolving cylinder pistol and carbine. Smith & Wesson were working in the same area of New England, and they came up with a lever action repeating gun, and didn't fire the traditional cap and ball. You know, what we say cap and ball, we mean that you had a percussion cap that was hit with a hammer that created a spark from the fulminator mercury that was inside it, that traveled through a chamber, ignited the gunpowder off in the main chamber, and the escaping gases from that propelled the ball down the barrel. With this, it's really your first self-contained cartridge. Oh. The Volcanic, or the rocket ball cartridge, was kind of like a mini ball, an elongated conical shaped bullet that had a hollow base to it. If you've been out to Civil War battlefields, you can find these little mini balls with the hollow bases. But what Smith & Wesson did was to design one that held the powder in the primer in the base of the bullet itself.
That's a big innovation.
Yeah, and later, you know, working with some French designs and things of that nature, they really come up with the 22, which is a self-contained metallic cartridge. Right. But this was their first effort at a self-contained cartridge, and it works just like a Winchester, you know, 94 that we're all familiar with. There's a tubular magazine under here. Collectors might recognize this little lever here being very similar to the setup on a Henry rifle used during the Civil War. Not your traditional lever loop that you would see on, say, a later model Winchester, but a little ring lever here. These guns were manufactured in 41 caliber and 31 caliber in different varying barrel lengths. And there are about 3 different variations of the gun that collectors can look for. The very earliest, from 1854, will have the Smith & Wesson name on the top of the gun. But then they needed to get funding to continue the development of this and try and get it to take off. And so they brought in a silent partner, so to speak, and the name was changed to the Volcanic Arms Company, trying to give an idea of the volcanic, you know, the eruption of the bullet from the chamber. And then it changed when Smith & Wesson basically lost control of the company to their silent partner. The name changed over to New Haven Arms. And the silent partner basically became the majority owner and took over. Smith & Wesson went back to Springfield, Massachusetts, continued handgun development, and like I said, came up with that self-contained 22, which is the most popular round ever manufactured. But that silent partner working there in New Haven inherited, along with all the accoutrements and machinery of the old shop, a designer in the shop foreman, a guy named Benjamin Tyler Henry. And Henry was able to perfect, with the self-contained metallic cartridge, a mechanism that would work very smoothly as a repeater, and he showed that to his new boss, Oliver Winchester, who was able to take the company onwards from there. So.
Wow, a lot of history, a lot of history in that little synopsis you just gave. Need to take all that in.
Yep.
Wow.
So you've got Smith & Wesson bring in Oliver Winchester, have Benjamin Tyler Henry working for them. They work on this lever action. The cartridge itself is the main hang up on this. They get rid of that. Smith & Wesson go away. Tyler, Henry, and Winchester continue working. The Henry rifle comes out during the Civil War, followed by the 1866, and then Winchester puts his own name on the guns after that.
So much happened that's so significant in the development of firearms in that area with that small group of people.
It is, and this is an actual Smith & Wesson named one from 1854.
Wow.
Very rare.
Beautiful, too. I was going to say, very elegant in design, too. You're talking about the lever, but it's a beautiful design as well.
It is. It looks really nice. You know, a lot of things back then were function more than form. And I hate to say this because I'm somewhat of an Anglophile. The British were famous for that. They produced some of the ugliest, you know, firearms, but they worked perfectly, you know. It was always function over form. Colt, Smith & Wesson, they always put a little bit of form over function. Not over function, but they knew how to make something that functioned well, look good at the same time.
Absolutely, it's beautiful. Now tell us a little bit about, once again, what this would fire, the cartridge.
It's called the Volcanic, or the rocket ball, and again, it's a conical shaped piece of you know, lead bullet with a point and a hollow base, and then the powder would be packed into the base of that. And these things would take between 12 and 22 grains of powder, somewhere around there, and then it would have a percussion cap as a part of the base of the cartridge, and you just, you know, work it, and the hammer hit the cap and ignited the powder charge.
This could be prepared before you went out into the field.
Yeah, these held, let's see, I remember somewhere around here what I wrote down. As not having one to actually play with, you don't get a good understanding. But they held, I think, six, 7 rounds.
So even before the metallic cartridge, this was still a big innovation as to being out with a cap and ball or a percussion cap and loading this out in the field. This really,
you just take a box of ammo and just drop
bing,
it.
bing, bing.
Yeah.
And you're all, wow. Well, where can we see this firearm? Tell us about where it's on display at the National Firearms Museum.
This gun, along with some of the other firearms from the early history of both Smith & Wesson and Winchester, are available to view at the National Firearms Museum in Fairfax, Virginia, right off of Interstate Route 66, 7 days a week with free admission. And the museum's open from 9:30 in the morning till 5 at night, Sunday through Friday, until 7 on Saturdays.
So we see a lot of people getting into the D.C. area for summertime. If you're in the area, please get by Fairfax, Virginia. See the National Firearms Museum. See your NRA headquarters as well out in Fairfax. You'll be able to see the premier firearms museum in the country. If not, check them out online. And Phil Schreier, thank you once again for a wonderful installment, a wonderful piece of history here on the Curator's Corner.
Thank you, John, for having us again.